To anyone who's tried a new video game, you're a noob. Or were a noob. It's just what you are when you try a new game. Trying new things is great, because in reality, it rarely is life or death or affects other people. However, in the digital world, where other players rely on your competence, noobs take on a whole new meaning. Nevertheless, we love them and the bittersweet role they play in the gamer's circle of life. If you haven't already, we make these videos for you, so please subscribe and like this video to support this channel. RAAAAGE! As we've said previously, noobs are an essential cog in the gamer circle of life. On the one hand, we were all once noobs, so we have empathy, a little empathy at least, as we watch them catch a grenade with their face. On the other hand, it's kind of like giving a weapon to a toddler. Pretty sure they'll be waving it around all over the place. On that same other hand, it's also like watching Ariel from The Little Mermaid discover a whole new world. We're pretty sure that whole new world you're blissfully discovering is actually strategy, positioning. It was a pretty competitive game that you are now flushing down the toilet. It goes without saying then, one problem all noobs encounter is rage. Have you ever stepped into a new online multiplayer game only to be met with a torrent of rage and verbal abuse? Sometimes it begins so suddenly that you couldn't imagine that it would actually be directed at you. But it is. How could it be? Well, some games like to hand out badges for experience, and if you don't have any experience, you get the noob badge. So let the haters hate, build some experience, and enjoy the mistakes. Getting killed repeatedly. Yep, this is another tragic reality noob gamers face on the reg. It may seem brutal or overly harsh, but if the noob considers its place in the food chain, they are low. The mulch of the forest, the crab of the ocean, or the small rodent to a hawk. And therein lies the truth. Could you really fault the hawk for pwning all the small rodents? No! Could you fault the seasoned player who looks specifically for you because they know you're a noob and want to kill you before anyone else? Of course not. The online world is life. It's nature in its purest form. The weak get killed, and in this case, the weak are the people who repeatedly do the same thing. Progress is made incrementally. Try new things, and if you can't, quit the game. Do us all a favor and find another game. Find another game where you can gang up on someone who knows a little less than you, and thus the circle of life is completed. Quit the games you're mismatched, and always take advantage of the little guy. The noob in this case. This is how we all sharpened our chops, and we recommend you do the same. GIF Fodder. Let's be honest, gamers often have more than one computer skill. They usually have several. Oftentimes, they have good video editing skills because they like to record their gameplay. Sometimes, they're also the creators of memes, compilation videos, or otherwise glorification videos that show off their kills. Guess what happens when you put two and two together? Well, if you're playing a little big for your britches, it's very likely that you'll end up on one of these. GIF Fodder. This video you're watching is comprised mostly of noobs. Is it wrong that noob deaths make such great television? Whether you catch a headshot crouching out in the open, shooting the wrong direction, or just general failing overall, there's a good chance you'll end up being recorded by your fellow gamer. To avoid this, as with the previous section, try to play according to your skill level. Consider this a little backup section. Usually the game you're playing has a fairly even matching algorithm, but not always, and it's best to avoid those games. Does it truly matter if you end up as a GIF? Depends on how serious you take the game. Some people take the game very seriously. Improperly using the microphone. Some noobs never grow out of this stage. Bottom line, the mic should be treated like a privilege, bestowed only after passing the proper education courses. Of course, I'm not talking about the intentionally annoying users who scream or make noises. Those players can be muted easily. I'm talking about the players who have babies crying in the background, or the kid with the microphone so close to their mouth that their word is a scream. Those kinds of noobs. I mean, let's be honest, anyone who doesn't know that the microphone is a device to calmly and clearly have a discussion and not meant for anything else doesn't understand. Learn how to use your mic, or you'll quickly become the enemy of your own team. And while you're at it, be sure to learn a little bit about the map. Just take a quick glance. Once you have at least some competence regarding the layout of the map and the location of map specifics, you'll be much further along the path of having a conversation online. Magical. We almost should make a DVD set entitled How to Have a Conversation Online. Do you think it'd sell? Overnight Commander. Ah yes, the noob turned overnight team leader. Glad we touched on this one here because there is nothing worse than the cocky noob. This is the guy who chooses a grenade launcher in the close quarters map with friendly fire. Because he's good, bro, he's not gonna hurt you. As with life, it's easy to get ahead of yourself. The same is true for the online world, maybe even more so. We get it. You had a good game, maybe you went for a 1-1 kill to death ratio. You've had marginal success. That's something to feel good about. Are you now qualified to give advice, direction, and leadership? Probably not. Does this stop many a noob? Definitely not. Remember, The noobs are noobs because of what they don't know. A natural progression for gamers is the slow realization that they're not the best, that someone can probably beat them. With this understanding, they focus on their own gameplay, their own strategy, because it's less about the opponent and mostly about themselves. Well, that may not be entirely true, but it's very zen. Noobs are the opposite. They're not in it to discover the nuances that shore up their game. They just want to be the best, not falling in line. Usually this is due to a variety of reasons, some innocent, some malicious, but to all the noobs who have not yet understood, if you're playing a team multiplayer game, you are part of a team. So before you run off to your certain death, consider our logic. Team games are meant to be played as a team. As soon as a team is down a player, they're at permanently disadvantaged odds. It's like on the National Geographic Channel, where the wolves surround the cattle and the cattle herd together. Now let me ask you a question. Have you ever seen a baby cow break free and try to battle the wolves on its own? No! And that's the noob. I only use cattle in this example because any team with the noob is definitely the prey. Additionally, doing your own thing is typically not the best way to get experience. You could argue that you learn the map better, maybe, but your team is going to know where to find the conflict or where to engage the enemy. They'll do this on their own. You just have to follow them. Better learning that way than going the opposite direction to explore. The Sacrificial Lamb. We'll just go ahead and admit it now. This is a continuation of one of the points we made in the previous section about the National Geographic scene. One thing all noobs have done, and we mean all, maybe it's the shining lights or the moving objects, but one thing all noobs have done is make the beeline run into conflict. Conflict here can be defined as one or more people, and for some reason, noobs prefer running at their enemy rather than taking shots. Maybe it's like a fight-or-flight response, where they're flighting, but just somehow in the completely wrong direction. I'm sure there's another National Geographic video that has this somewhere. But anyway, we see this all the time. Another thing a noob will slowly learn is that well-placed bullets travel faster than a person running. That's just the nature of life. Don't get us wrong, by no means are we complaining. Just because this is a video about noob life doesn't mean we won't put a noob down faster than a 20-pound sack of potatoes. We just want the noob to understand that they're being a noob, you know, so they can grow as an individual. Bad aim. We get it. This is one of those skills you have to build over time. Maybe play the campaign if it's one of those games, or do a cooperative game, whatever. However, there is still a very large noob factor that plays into poor online multiplayer aim. When learning to aim, you learn that there are certain things that you don't do. It's like shoring up your lowest qualities. You can't always make your higher qualities higher, but you can always bring up your lower qualities. Here, we mean things like running. One thing noobs eventually learn is that you can't shoot very well when you're in a forward sprint. There's a reason the crosshairs get wider. You also can't stand still as you're an easy target. We see this combo all the time. Player runs into the clearing, stands. Or player runs into battle with chainsaw machine gun, doesn't hit anybody. What you can do is strafe and move side to side. Learn to take shots more precisely. If you're shooting your next bullet during the recoil of the first, your shots will always be off. Depending on the game, you usually have to wait that tiny fraction of a second for your gun to return to its starting position. Being of no help. As we said earlier, noobs sometimes prefer to wander the map, sacrifice themselves, or otherwise embark on solo missions during a multiplayer game. Because this game is the best time to do that. Noobs are on their own time. Usually when a team gets flanked, it's because the noob never said anything. Maybe they were shooting at the statue's face, or had managed to find a bit of street rubble to play around with. Or maybe if you're especially lucky, you'll have the noob who shadows you, just follows you around, stands in front of you, not a care in the world. This is life when playing with noobs. As such, you should never expect any assistance whatsoever from a noob. In fact, you'd probably be better served if you imagined they were never there. Let's be honest, is a noob ever going to call anything out? No. Is a noob ever going to have your back? No. Do they even understand what's going on? Definitely not. Noobs are the mulch of the forest, and the sooner they're put down, the sooner they can begin to grow. It's a learning process in all honesty, and it's best to give them their learning right in the face. Last one alive. Now this one always seems to defy logic, but it happens, and it happens a lot. Nothing is worse than when the game is down to its final two players and they're both noobs. Nothing. Of course, it's bound to happen, and it's easy to see why. Noobs by nature zig when everyone else zags. If you had two noobs on opposite teams, you'd think, okay, although these two noobs are zigging when they should be zagging, they'll meet and kill each other. You'd be wrong. Noobs don't just zig when everyone else zags. They zag their own zig and zig that very zag. They're all over the place. But worst of all, Sometimes they're no place, as in they've left their computer, Xbox, or PlayStation and their characters are standing at spawn. Now we know that many games nowadays have a fix for this, but in the height of gaming, when the noob term was coined, this was very much a problem, especially in Counter-Strike. I'm sure all noobs out there have at least one memory where they were the final person in a match in a bad way. Team leader and top players are dead, but you're still there. Oh well, live, learn, and flip the bird. Well, that's it for us. Hope you enjoyed the video. As we were all noobs at one point, maybe some of these were you. If all 10 described you perfectly, then we want to hear about it. So write about it in the comments below. Let us know if we missed any. And while you're here, don't forget to subscribe and like and share our video. If you enjoyed watching, check out more fun videos on our playlist. Thanks for watching.